morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Honest Football Talk, where I, Thomas Swelling, give you guys my honest take on everything going on in the NFL world today. And I just wanted to start off this episode by saying, it's great to be back. As you guys know, I've been on a little hiatus here. I was gone last week. I had happened to take a little vacation. Me and my family decided to go to Myrtle Beach, enjoy some time by the beach and, just have some relaxing time to get away from the world and, just have some time to enjoy ourselves. And, it's great to get back into everything, start looking back into the NFL and catching up on everything that I missed in the last week of the preseason. So that's how I wanted to start off this episode, is by getting into the preseason recap here. I thought what better way than to, cover what's been going on in the preseason now that the preseason is finally over. What are some of the biggest takeaways? And one of the biggest takeaways I had from the preseason is looking at who's going to be the actual starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. As we know, the Patriots have been very adamant about having Jacoby Brissett as their starter all this time. Even throughout the preseason, their plan is to have Jacoby start and then have Drake May eventually take over, their third overall pick in this previous draft here in April. And as you could see throughout the preseason, Drake May has played so well. It feels like it's going to be really, really difficult for the Patriots to just come on in and have Jacoby Brissett start. As we've seen, when Jacoby's been in there, he has not played well at all. It has not looked good for him. It does not look like Jacoby is ready to even be in a starting position. Whereas Drake May, he's come in and flashed very, very well for the New England Patriots when he's gotten the opportunity. And I think that with the opportunities he's been given, I think he's earned himself the starting job. And I think going from here, I think Drake May should be the starting quarterback going into week one and for New England. And just see how he does. So it's about that time. Not at this point in the NFL, a lot of rookie quarterbacks get in there and they're usually thrown to the fire. I don't normally believe in that, but looking at New England's situation, I think it's better for Jacoby to be sitting at this point, having Drake May as the starter. So we'll see how that continues to go going from here. But that's my opinion on everything. And going from there, another interesting takeaway from the preseason comes from the Dallas Cowboys. If you've been paying attention to their quarterback situation, there's been a little bit of a controversy whether or not the Dallas Cowboys want to re-sign Dak Prescott to a contract extension. As you guys know, the Dallas Cowboys had traded for Trey Lance in hopes to help develop him and kind of maybe be Dak's successor in the future. And as we've been watching this preseason, Trey Lance has had a lot of ups and downs in the preseason. It's hard to tell whether he's actually ready to take the mantle for Dak Prescott and actually be that successor that Dallas is really hoping to be. Trey definitely had some flashes this preseason. If you look at some of his stats from the preseason, you can see that he did lead the league in both passing yards and rushing yards as a quarterback in the preseason, but he threw a lot of interceptions in the games that he played and made a lot of mistakes. So those mistakes definitely outshine a lot of his success, and it's hard to tell if he's actually ready to take up for Dak Prescott in the future. So it's something to watch out for in the future, what the Dallas Cowboys are willing to do here, if they're going to take that chance on Trey Lance next year, or if they're actually going to give that money to Dak Prescott. We're going to have to watch and see how this year unfolds for Dak Prescott, how he's able to lead the Dallas Cowboys, and see how far Dallas can make it this year. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. That was a great takeaway from the preseason, how much Trey Lance actually truly developed. And going from there, another key takeaway that I was able to get from this preseason, I'd have to say, is looking at the Tennessee Titans. I was actually really surprised at how well Will Levis looked in the preseason. Even though he was going against a lot of backups when he did play, he did look well. He played really well. He did look good. I think that Tennessee might be taking a step up on offense this year. Completely different now. They don't have Mike Vrabel. They don't have Derrick Henry on that team. They still have DeAndre Hopkins, and they just added Calvin Ridley. I think Will Levis, he's been up and down last year as well. So, there's a lot of question marks. Is he going to be able to be a starting quarterback in the NFL? Is he going to be able to actually lead the Tennessee Titans to some wins this coming year? And, he's got a lot to prove. So we'll see, just how good Will Levis actually is, and see how good these Tennessee Titans are about to be. Yeah, I know I'm excited to see how they play, excited to see this offense, and I might even be drafting some Tennessee Titan players for my fantasy football league. Give them a chance, because I do have some I have some confidence in this offense. I got some confidence that they're going to do some damage in their division, and we'll see. We'll see just how far they can go. And going from there, the last thing I wanted to cover from the preseason that I found pretty interesting and a pretty big takeaway is the fact that the Atlanta Falcons didn't play Michael Penix in the final preseason game. And I found that very interesting, especially since, they did use the high draft capital on him. I know that they plan on starting Kirk Cousins. They're like, we've seen enough of Michael Penix. We don't need to see any more. It's like, what are you talking about? Why did you draft this guy? Yeah, the point is to see more of him, right? He's a rookie. We need to get him reps. I mean, even if you don't think that he's going to be your starter, get him the reps so that when he does have to go in, he'll be ready. Like I find the whole thought process behind the Atlanta Falcons and their whole offseason this year very mind-boggling. It doesn't make a lot of sense with a lot of the moves they've made. I'm very curious to see how this organization goes going forward. I got a feeling that a lot of the higher-ups aren't going to be in place going forward. Their GM and coach and stuff, it might be, in and out really quickly these next couple of years. We might be seeing a lot of changes going forward here quickly, I think. But I guess time will tell. Maybe I'm the dumb one here. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons are the geniuses here, and maybe if Kirk goes down halfway through the year, Michael Penix comes in and leads them to a Super Bowl, sort of like Nick Foles did for the Eagles. So, who am I to say? I'm not a GM in the NFL, but I'm not the only one here saying that this is a really, really weird look. There's a lot of NFL analysts out there that think that this is really weird. These are some really weird actions by the Atlanta Falcons this offseason. So, curious to see where it goes from here. See if it all pays off for the Atlanta Falcons, or if this becomes one of the biggest, debacles, or, one of the biggest blunders for the Atlanta Falcons in recent draft history. Because they could have easily had some defensive help. They could have been the first team to take a defensive end. They could have got the defensive end instead of the Colts, one of the best ones, Ladu, I think his name was. I apologize if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly, but they could have easily had one of the best defensive ends in the league or in the draft, and could have had one of the best corners in the draft. Something to bolster the defense, something to make them even more competitive, but instead they get a backup quarterback. So, it's going to, regardless, it will forever be judged in that regard. So the decisions they make at quarterback is going to be heavily scrutinized from here on out. But yeah, those are my thoughts. That's about all the biggest takeaways I got from the preseason this year. I'm very, very much looking forward to the regular season to get started. And yeah, going from there, I'd say let's go ahead and start covering some of the latest news that's taking place in the NFL. Now, as you guys know, I've been gone for 2 weeks, so I got a couple stories here that I wanted to cover that happened a little later, or I'm sorry, it might have been, this might seem like old news, but I definitely wanted to cover these things because I found them very important. For example, the very first story that I wanted to cover is the Philadelphia Eagles trading within a division with the Commanders to get Jahan Dotson. Now, if you guys don't know, Jahan Dotson used to be the Commanders' basically number 2 wide receiver. He was a former first-round pick for them, and I always thought Jahan was really good. He was a young little star breaking out, and unfortunately, things didn't go his way with the Commanders. Had a lot of turnover at quarterback. I just thought the dude was a nice hidden gem. Every time I'd see him in like fantasy drafts, I'd try to scoop him up because I felt like he always produced when he had the opportunity. So I'm really excited for the Eagles to get him. I think that he's going to be great, especially since he's not going to be asked to do nearly as much for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to be, asked to do wide receiver 3 work, not, wide receiver 2 or 1 work. He won't be against the top corners. He'll have a lot to do, or he'll have a lot more opportunities to do things going against like the slot corners or the nickel corners, and I think that's going to benefit him in a great way going forward with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that he's going to have a much better time with Philadelphia, especially being in that type of culture where it's more about winning than just getting through the season. I think he's going to like it in Philly, and I'm really excited to see him come to Philly. It's really odd that the Commanders kind of gave up on him so early. He's only been in the league for 2 years, and I thought he played well, especially his rookie year. Yeah, he had kind of a down year last year, but you could say that for the whole team because of all the turnaround with whether it be quarterback play or anything, whether it be injuries. They got rid of their whole defense, a lot of turnover on defense, getting rid of Sweat and Young. It's hard to expect a lot of success out of that team when they get rid of a lot of their core players and they just pull the team apart, especially now getting rid of Jahan Dotson. So, they got a lot of turnover in there. They got a lot of new faces. So until they get things more consistent in there, I don't see a lot of success coming for the Commanders in the near future. So I guess it makes sense why they traded. They want to rebuild for the future, and we'll see how that goes going forward. But I personally think this is a great move for Philly. They needed some depth at wide receiver. They didn't have much outside of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, so I think it's great if something happens to one of those two now. I think Jahan Dotson can definitely step up and take place as a wide receiver too if we need him. So definitely excited to see what Kellen Moore can do with this new piece on the offense. So yeah, that's our first story. Our second story, I thought was also very interesting, is the Packers trading for Malik Willis. Now, as I mentioned as one of my preseason highlights, the Titans did play well. Part of them playing well was Malik Willis. I kind of thought Tennessee was going to keep Malik Willis because he looked like he could end up actually being the starter, He showed a lot of flashes within his preseason play that made me think, he could take over Will Levis if he tended to struggle in the future and in some games. But I think the Titans pretty much solidified that they want to make Will Levis their starter, so decided to go ahead and trade Malik Willis to the Packers, and I think it's kind of a good move. It's going to make Will Levis feel a lot more comfortable being in the quarterback room with the Tennessee Titans, not feeling like he's got to look over his shoulder anytime he makes a mistake. It solidifies him as the starting quarterback there, and I think this is a great move for the Packers too, because it solidifies a backup role for them. If something were to happen to Jordan Love, I think Malik Willis shares a lot of qualities that Jordan Love does, so as long as he's able to pick up the offense well going into Green Bay, I think he'll be a great backup to Jordan Love. So overall, this is one of those rare moves that I think might actually be a win-win for both teams. They didn't give up a lot to get the Packers. Didn't give up a lot to get Malik Willis, and it didn't cost much for the Titans to move away from him. So I think it's a win-win. But yeah. Going on from there, one of the last things I wanted to cover is, of course, at the end of the preseason, one of the key things I always think it's key to pay attention to, of course, is the PUP list, the NFL players that basically aren't able to perform or not able to go into the season healthy and have to sit out the first 4 games of the season. This is not only very important for fantasy if you guys are fantasy players. This is also important for the team, their outlook for the season as well. Some of their star players could be missing very early on, and how much will this impact them going forward. Some key names I wanted to cover, like Nick Chubb and TJ Hawkinson. As we know, Nick Chubb has been one of the greatest running backs in the league when he's healthy. Unfortunately, he had a catastrophic knee injury a while ago. It's been a while. He's been still healing over this knee injury, even though it's been so long. He's still not fully ready. He's got to sit out the first 4 weeks. Will he ever be fully ready? That's another big question. There's a lot of concern whether or not Nick Chubb will be able to come back 100% and be ready to go. But time will tell. We got some time to figure that out, and it's even though we got four weeks before he's able to hit the field. He might be posting some videos. Keep an eye on him. We'll be able to see whether or how the Browns handle this situation going forward, whether he's going to be back on the field. But if you're drafting in fantasy, I would stay away from Nick Chubb. I would not be putting him on your team. As much as it sucks to say, I don't know if he's going to be the same player as what he used to be, and as much as I hope that he's going to be, we just don't know with such a catastrophic knee injury. So definitely, keep your eye on that going forward, and we'll see how it goes. And going from there, there are a few more names that I wanted to cover that are starting the NFL season on the PUP list. Some of these names include players from the Miami Dolphins, like Bradley Chubb and Odell Beckham Jr. Another player being from the Minnesota Vikings, their tight end TJ Hawkinson. The New England Patriots missing their offensive lineman Cole Strange. And even the Baltimore Ravens missing their running back Keaton Mitchell. As you can tell, these are some higher profile names that are starting out the season on the PUP list are going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season, and I just thought that it was important to mention some of these names, as if you're getting ready to draft in your fantasy league, that some of these offensive players aren't going to be available right off the bat, and we don't know exactly when they're going to be available this season. Some of these players, such as like Nick Chubb for the Cleveland Browns, we might not know if he'll even be back this season, whereas like somebody like TJ Hawkinson, it's thought that he's going to be back sometime, but when exactly, it might not be till even later after the 4 games that he starts with. So we'll just have to wait and see as the season progresses. Hopefully some of these key players are able to get healthy, and we'll be able to suit up and play sometime this year. Something to look forward to, and something to definitely keep an eye on as the season goes on. Now, going from there, the last thing that I wanted to cover for this episode is some NFL season predictions. Since the season is going to be starting next week, I figured what better way than to end this episode with some of my predictions for the year, how some of the seasons, or how some of these teams are going to, finish their season, how, the playoffs are going to shake out, and who's going to end up being the Super Bowl champion. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and give you guys who I think is going to win from each division. I'll start with the AFC and then go into the NFC. I'll also give you guys who I think is going to make the wild card for both AFC and NFC, and then give you guys my AFC champ, NFC champ, and Super Bowl champ. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and start with the AFC North. Who do I think will win the AFC North? That would be, drumroll, I think it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens probably going to have about a 12-5 record. I see them stepping up. They're going to end up taking this division over. The only team that I think even might have a chance against them are the Cleveland Browns, because they have such a good defense, but I don't think Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback. I think Lamar is going to be able to lead that division and pretty much take the Ravens maybe all the way. We'll see. Next, I want to go over the AFC South. Who's going to win that? I think it's going to be the Houston Texans. I really do think that C.J. Stroud's going to take a big leap this year. He already did last year. He's going to continue that and lead this team to victory. I think DeMeco Ryans is a great head coach with his defensive mind. I think he's going to lead the defense well, and C.J. Stroud's going to handle that offense. And I think they'll probably have around the same like 11-6 or 12-5 type record, and I think they'll end up leading the AFC South this year. Going from there, the AFC East, I think the winner of that is going to be the Miami Dolphins. Might be a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be the Bills or maybe even the Jets with Aaron Rodgers coming back, but I personally think it's going to be Tua leading the charge down there. Him and Mike, his coach, Mike Daniels, have had a lot of time to build a rapport with each other, and I think that this is the year that they're going to shine, that they're going to put everything together. Now, I know they lost a lot of pieces on defense, but I think that the Dolphins have been able to cover that with some of their other off-season moves with the pieces that they lost, and hopefully they get Bradley Chubb back in a reasonable amount of time, and that won't affect them too much. But overall, I really do think that the Dolphins can win this division, and they could even make a strong push in the playoffs. So we'll see how it goes, but that's who I got winning the AFC East. Going from there, talk about the AFC West. Oh boy, who could it be? You guys probably know from some of my other top lists, especially with my quarterback list going into this, if I think the number one quarterback is from the AFC West, you probably can decipher that I'm going to pick them to win the division as well, and you'd be correct. I'm picking of course, Kansas City Chiefs to win the AFC West. Got them being like a 13-4 record, probably going to be the number one seed. They're going for that three-peat, and I think they got a great chance of obtaining it. I mean, I don't see a lot of teams having a chance of really, take on the Chiefs in the AFC. Excuse me, the only team that I think stands a chance is probably the Baltimore Ravens. So, going from there, the 3 wildcard teams that I picked from the AFC would be number 1, the Raiders. I think Gardner Minshew is going to be able to lead that team and give them a winning record around 10-7, get them in. Same with the Steelers. I think the Steelers will end up getting a winning record. I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to look great for them, but I do think that he'll end up staying as a starter throughout the year, and they'll end up, just barely making the playoffs because, that's what Mike Tomlin does. He'll end up making it because That just seems to be how Mike Tomlin ends up with these seasons. Even if he doesn't make it far in the playoffs, he somehow either makes it to the playoffs or has a winning record at the end. So I think the Steelers will end up doing that again this year, and they'll probably have about a 10-7 record as well, getting one of those wild card spots. In the last spot, this was actually tough. I was neck and neck with the Jaguars and Jets. I do think that either one could get in there. It depends on if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. I personally don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to stay healthy, so I gave this spot to the Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence takes a big leap this year. They'll end up probably getting in there with a 10-7 or 9-8 type record. And who knows? Maybe cause some damage this time in the playoffs. Maybe go deep. We'll see. Maybe make a big push and end up shooting for AFC champion. But yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. Going from there, let's go ahead and cover the NFC. So looking over the NFC North, who do I think is going to win that? I believe it's going to be the good old Detroit Lions. Yes, believe it or not, I think that I don't think that the Packers are going to win it a lot. There's a lot of love right now for Jordan Love and the Packers, but I personally think the Lions are, the team to beat right now in the NFC North. They got all the pieces on defense and offense now right now. I think Jared Goff has got everything down on the offensive side of the ball. He's got great weapons to throw to with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. Got great running backs and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think that they're a powerhouse and they're a team. They're a team to fear definitely in the NFC. So that's who I got winning the NFC North, and we'll see how it goes from there. Looking at the NFC South, I think this is going to be the weakest division in the NFC. I think the winner of that is probably going to be the Atlanta Falcons this year. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to come through this time. I think it is going to be Atlanta. I think that they've added enough pieces in the offseason to overtake the Buccaneers for the division. And it's probably going to be about a 10-7, 9-8 type win. Not going to be a pretty division win, but I do think Atlanta's going to take it. And yeah, with all the pieces around Kirk Cousins, with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and then all the defensive pieces Atlanta just added this offseason, I just think they got too much talent not to succeed. So we'll see how it goes. There's always the dream team mentality. Being an Eagles fan, hate hearing that term, because we know previous times we've been told about dream team stuff, it has not worked out well. So it's not always great to have all the talent, because it doesn't always mesh well. So keeping that in mind, we'll see how Atlanta does going forward. Going from there, the NFC West. That's right, I'm flipping it up on you. We'll do the East last. You can probably guess what I'm going to pick, but NFC West, I got, unfortunately, the 49ers. As much as I despise them and the way that they treat the Eagle players and the Eagle fan base, I guess it is what it is, but I do think that they're a good team. They still have great players. They got a great team built around Brock Purdy, with CMC, Deebo Samuel, and they still have Brandon Ayuk, even though there's a lot of drama there. I do see the 49ers still pulling out the division, and there's not really any team in that division that can really compete against them right now. So I see the 49ers winning with similar 12-5, 11-6 type record, and taking control of the NFC West. And going from there, as you guys can guess, the NFC East, saving the best for last. We got the Philadelphia Eagles winning it, of course. I do think the Eagles are going to take command of this division. We have so many great pieces. I think we started out so well the year before the Eagles fell apart and went on that big losing streak and finished 11-6 after starting the season so strong. I think that, with these new pieces added, with the coordinators gone, I think the Eagles are going to pick up from where they started last year, and instead of how they ended last year, they're going to look at how they started that year and try to pick it up from there and, just go on a winning streak. There's a lot of people who think the Eagles could probably even go undefeated with the pieces they got, and I don't think that's too far-fetched, just because of the fact that there is so much talent on offense now with Saquon Barkley as our running back, and we got Jahan Dotson as our wide receiver 3. I mean, as long as the offensive line can hold together without Jason Kelce as our centerpiece, that's my biggest worry right now. I think that the Eagles could be one of the big powerhouses in the NFL, and could win the whole thing. But big Eagle bias as well. Keep that in mind. But yeah, going from there, we'll go ahead and look over the 3 wild cards for the NFC. First one I got is the Los Angeles Rams. I think that they're going to be a great team as long as Matthew Stafford stays healthy. They still got a lot of great pieces that a lot of people don't really recognize with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. As long as the pieces can stay healthy, I do think that the Rams can make a push in the playoffs. Going from there, the other wildcard team I got is the Green Bay Packers. I do think that they could do another big run like they did last year, take out a bunch of teams, because Jordan Love's got that ability. He's got that clutch factor in him, and I think he's a good quarterback that can, lead the Packers, to deep in the playoffs if all the cards are laid out right for him. I think that there's a good chance that the Packers can make a push. They'll probably finish around 10-7, 11-6 type record, and we'll see how it goes. And then the final team, I didn't want to put them in there. I really didn't, but I do think that they still have a lot of talent. I do think the Dallas Cowboys will be the third wildcard team. They lost a lot of talent as well. They losing like Stephon Gilmore and other pieces, and not doing a lot in the offseason to bolster some of their holes that they really needed. And losing pieces on their offensive line. I do think it's going to affect Dak. I do think it's going to affect the offensive performance. They're not going to be as big of a powerhouse as they were last year. But I do think that they have enough talent to, still win a lot of games this year and probably end up at about 11-6 or 10-7 type record and end up making the playoffs. And we'll end up seeing them in the wild card, unfortunately. But yeah, that's who I got going in for the AFC and NFC. Let me know you guys' thoughts. Where am I wrong? Who you think could go in above that, or who you think's going to win the division for AFC or NFC. Let me know your thoughts. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciate you guys listening to me. And yeah, going from there, let's go ahead and give out the AFC and NFC champions. Who's it going to be? Well, for AFC champion, I decided to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I know it's going to be like, what? You're not picking the Chiefs after I just talked up the Chiefs? I know. But I do think this is the year Lamar, he gets over all the talk of him not being able to get to the Super Bowl. This is the year that Lamar finally takes the Ravens over the hump. He beats Patrick Mahomes and, gets that, silly story off his shoulders where he's not good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, or he's not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. This is the year where he proves to everybody that he is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback and he can take the Ravens to the promised land. So I got the Ravens winning the AFC. In the NFC, I did have some trouble, believe it or not. Did have some trouble picking the NFC champion here, because I do think the Eagles and Lions are like neck and neck when it comes to talent wise. Like I was going back and forth between the Lions and Eagles. It depends on where it's going to be played, I think, and I do think it's going to be heavily reliant on who's going to be the home team, because both teams I think are very, very close in terms of talent, and it's going to come down to the extra factors that would affect any sort of team, whether it be the home crowd, whether it be the weather. If they're playing in Philly, it's going to be outside. How's Jared Goff going to perform if he has to play outside? So I do think that would be the biggest factor. And if the Eagles were to somehow get the benefit of the doubt and be the number one seed, and the Lions had to come to Philly, I do think that the Eagles would win. So my pretty much prediction off all that is that I think the Eagles will be the number one seed. The Eagles will end up hosting the Lions, and they'll beat the Lions. So that's where I get my thinking. That's why I think that the Philadelphia Eagles will be the NFC champions. And going from there, as you can see, I think it's going to be an awesome Super Bowl matchup between Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. Who's the better quarterback? Who's the better mobile quarterback? Obviously people will argue that they'll say Lamar's got the better talent, but I do think that it's a lot closer than what people give Jalen Hurts credit for. I think that Jalen is finally going to get his opportunity. He's going to get his chance to win the Super Bowl here. He's had it before and unfortunately came up short. This is going to be his second try, I think, and I think second time's the charm for him. He's not going to let this opportunity slip him by again. I think that's just the type of character Jalen Hurts is. I don't think he's going to let an opportunity like that slip by again. So I think that Jalen's going to pull it out. He's the leader of the Philadelphia Eagles for a reason in my eyes, and I think that he's got that leadership quality to not only pull the team together, but do the impossible when it needs to be done. I think, and I think that's going to be the defining factor that's going to get the Eagles over the hump over the Ravens. So, final prediction: Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl against the Ravens. We'll say say 28-24, Philly. That's my Super Bowl prediction. Take it how you will. We'll see how well it turns out this year. But yeah, that's everything I got for this episode, guys. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to me. Apologizing, my voice sounded a little raspy. I do have a cold that I'm trying to fight through. This episode's been a little bit more difficult to record, but glad we're able to push through and get this baby out there. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss another week because I'd already skipped a week due to my vacation, and making sure I get everything out there in on time, guys. So thanks again for listening. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that great stuff if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate you guys listening. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of this episode. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And yeah, I'll be back next week to cover the first week of the NFL. And yeah, hope everyone has a great week. Until then, take care, guys. This is Honest Football Talk with Thomas Law, and I'm signing off, guys. Take care. See ya.